All right, so it's been a while since we watched either of these two gentlemen, and I'll do some introductions. The man on the screen is Gad Sad. Gad Sad sucks. He is a very sad man. He is one of the people. He's notoriously the guy that during the intellectual dark web, basically was begging and pleading and sucking the dick of everyone around, trying to get into the cool kids club and be considered part of the intellectual dark web. And they all said, nah. They let in Joe Rogan. They wouldn't let in this fucking guy. Like, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty hilarious. It's really, really, really good stuff. And he is talking to his longtime friend, who was in the intellectual dark web, oddly, Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin. Wow, imagine that. Dave Rubin. So they're going to talk about the real reason sex may not create happiness. And I'm curious. I haven't seen this yet. So, yeah, let's check it out.
If I were to answer that using an endocrinological framework, I would say, in a sense, your question can be reframed as the difference between dopamine and serotonin, right? The dopamine hits caters to my pleasure center. So the porn or the juicy burger is a one-time hit, but that's not existential bliss, right? That's not right. So, but when I sit down and I say,
okay, wait. So we're starting this off talking about how chemically we do have neurotransmitters that create the sensation, the illusion of pleasure. But then we're getting into existential pleasure. That's interesting. Happiness in and of itself is a very, very interesting topic to me. And I've actually looked at a lot of stuff about it. And I even attended a lecture by, I believe it's Dan Gilbert. Let's see. Yeah, it was Dan Gilbert. Yeah. I got to go attend a lecture by Dan Gilbert, who is a leading researcher in this. And the man knows what the fuck he's talking about when it comes to happiness. So we'll see. We'll see.
I am genuinely a happy person. I've got a great family. I love my children. I've got great friends. I can text Dave Rubin in a second. He's going to respond. I read books all day. I am existentially happy. So I think it's really the difference between short-term hits of dopamine and long-term serotonin contentment, which, by the way, is something that we can also relate when you're choosing your partner, right? Many people will confuse, lust.
When you choose your partner, that's a very strange way to look at that. Yeah, I don't know. That's very weird. Gad Sad is a Canadian marketing professor. He is known for applying evolutionary psychology to marketing and consumer behavior. So you can kind of see like where this is going. But yeah.
And the hormones, the neuroanatomy of lust, that's going to fade. I don't care whether you're married to a Greek god Adonis or Beyonce. There's the old expression, show me a gorgeous woman and I'll show you a guy who's tired of having sex with her. Yeah. Well, that also speaks to the
wait. I'm sorry. I can't get over the pause game. Like, look. Two old dudes randomly talking about how, yeah, we sure get tired of fucking people after a while. You got Dave over here, who's gay, and Gad. Both these expressions are just fucking chef's kiss, no notes. Also, very, very reductive statement on that. Kind of strange, very weird. Little sussy, but whatever.
Reality that there is a huge tedium that sets in if all you are pursuing is short-term pleasure. But on the other hand, for me to be able to go for a walk with my wife and have fun and joke around and so on, that's contentment. So that's, I think, the difference between them.
No, that's not what happiness is. No, sorry. That's not what happiness is. What that is, what we just heard, is basically an old man expressing copium. Okay? Like, that's what it is. That's absolutely what it is. It's fucking ridiculous. See, the things that I get to experience because I can't experience fucking the supermodel or Beyonce, that's contentment and that's better, than the thing that I can't have. Yeah. You fucking telling on yourself, buddy.
Let's talk about, since we've mentioned Jordan a couple times.
I would expect Gad to know more about dopamine and serotonin than me, but I guess not. No, he is not a biologist. He is not a neurologist. It's not his claim to fame is literally just using types of science that he is not an expert in order to apply it to marketing and psychological manipulation for the purpose of promotion and selling. That's just it's just what it is. But yeah. Anyway,
One of the things that he talks a lot about that I think has helped a lot of people is that your goal shouldn't be happiness. Your goal should be purpose. First off, I sense you agree with that, but can you explain how do you meld those things?
Okay, that's interesting because that is a very, very common and a common conceptualization and a common stated ethic, I guess you could say. One that I tend to loosely agree with. Loosely.
And what do you see as the difference of those things?
Yeah, so in the last chapter of my forthcoming happiness book, I have a quote by Viktor Frankl where he basically says, don't pursue directly success. It is something that comes as a consequence. And I use that because I argue that I completely analogize that to happiness, and hence I agree with Jordan. Happiness should...
No, that's not necessarily true at all. Like that. This is just self-help kind of dog shit. If you follow this path, if you do things the way I tell you to do, you'll get these results and shit. That's stupid.
Be something that results from you having adopted the right mindsets, the right decisions. And so I think you mentioned purpose and meaning. So in one of the chapters where I talk about the two decisions that are most likely to impart either great amount of misery or great amount of happiness to you, I say that the choice of spouse that you choose and the choice of profession that you choose are the ones that are going to do that, either make you more miserable or happier.
Incorrect. Also completely incorrect. Studies do not show that. Happiness research does not show that. No. Sorry.
And to Jordan's point about purpose, I wake up every day, with sort of a gleeful, I'm rubbing my hands together in anticipation because my job brings me great purpose and meaning. Today, I'm going to talk with Dave Rubin. Later, I'm going to meet a graduate student. Then I'm going to speak to a college in Florida. Then I'm going to put up a sad truth. I'm constantly...
and you're going to go on Twitter and make a bunch of transphobic comments and then rage post about it and cry and whine and piss and shit because you're just such a happy fucking guy. It's all fake. It's all fucking fake. It's all bullshit. Okay, so this is the thing. Gad's Saad, aside from the fact that he does still work with students, which maybe he's great at teaching marketing. Maybe he's awesome. I don't know. Maybe he is. But the problem is, aside from that, he is just as fucking broken and shitty and stupid as the rest of us. But he doesn't promote himself that way because, one, he's trying to make a book, and two, he's trying to push this type of idea, this conceptualization of him, so that you will trust and you will listen and then buy more, give him attention, give him it's the same fucking thing as like Andrew Tate. There's no fucking difference. It's just self-help like grifters,
Constantly in creative mode. So that's actually something I talk about in the book, that the surest way to find purpose and meaning, irrespective of which profession you follow, is to instantiate your creative impulse. Now, that's a very broad statement because I could be a chef and be creative. I could be an architect. I could be a stand-up comic creating new material. I could be a podcaster. I could be an author and a professor. But all other things equal, if you immerse yourself in the creative impulse, you're more likely to find purpose and meaning. Very few insurance adjusters probably wake up and say, Thank God I'm an insurance adjuster. I find such purpose and meaning doing that.
Okay. You don't know what that insurance adjuster does with the rest of his life. If you are the kind of person who thinks that your value has to be intrinsically like connected to these specific type of archetypes, either your profession or your position in the power dynamics of your relationship with your spouse or with your friends or your children, like these are the things that very specifically, these blocks and like those determining factors are how you measure worth or happiness. You're making a huge fucking mistake. Huge mistake. Like an insurance adjuster might be like, yeah, this job's okay. It pays well. And in the meantime, I have all this time and money to spend with my family or to go fishing or to go fuck around with the guys or the gals or whatever. Like, you can't just make these broad determining factors. Like, you can't just paint somebody as, well, you work this profession, then I don't like it, so you must be miserable. It's stupid.
So what do you do for that person? So for the person that's an insurance adjuster that's watching this right now, that it's a mundane activity, let's say. They might have the great spouse, they might be making a decent living, but the day-to-day thing, and I'm sure there are some insurance adjusters who absolutely freaking love it, but whatever that job is, that whatever we're talking about there, what do you say to that person?
Yeah, fantastic. So
who's
there
pulling the levers all day?
That's right. So in a sense, it relates to some of the other prescriptions that I have in the book. So I argue, for example, that I have a whole chapter titled Life as a Playground, right? Meaning that immerse yourself in endless play, even when pursuing very serious things. So science, the pursuit of science, is the ultimate form of intellectual play, right? Because when you're putting together...
What? Has this man ever set foot inside of a fucking laboratory? It reminds me of the lost skeleton of Cadavra. Like, I can't wait to get to the cabin and do some science. Oh, honey, I think maybe you do too much science. Do too much science? Is that even possible? Oh, man. Jesus Christ. Hey, Colorado, just finished Sturgis tour last night. You never check your text messages, do you? You never check your text messages. I just texted you this morning. Yeah. No, that's cool. I'm glad that the tour went well. Awesome, man, for sure.
I'm going to come to the insurance adjuster in a second. When you're putting together a puzzle of a 1,000-piece puzzle, you're trying to make all these pieces fit. Well, that's what science is, right? There's a bunch of variables out there, and I'm trying to find which one causes which other one, which one correlates to the other or is unrelated to the other. So it's a form of orgiastic cerebral play.
Orgiastic cerebral play. Okay. What the fuck? What in the fuck did you just say?
Correlates to the other or is unrelated to the other. So it's a form of orgiastic cerebral play.
Don't ever fucking say that again. Oh my fucking God. Can we fire this man into the fucking sun? Jesus Christ. Wow. I like the orgy part of it too. I swear to God.
So to the insurance adjuster, I say that perhaps your job doesn't allow you that creative play pursuit, but then at night when you finish your job, rather than watching television for the next 5 hours, maybe sign up for that ceramics class that you had always wanted to take. In other words, there is still a way for me.
You see, the answer for having a mundane job is taking ceramics. I mean, sure. Why not? Some people are just like fucking orgiastic about their ceramics, right? You know?
To pursue my creative impulse, to immerse myself in play, even though my profession doesn't afford me those opportunities.
Yeah.
What would you say to the person that's struggling? And I think this is probably mostly for the generation or the several generations now behind the two of us, who are struggling between the balance between pleasure and happiness. Meaning they've grown up where you can watch porn all day long, you can play video games all day long, you can indulge in whatever it is that you like to do all day long, basically at your phone, as opposed to getting to the purpose that'll bring you the happiness. And
Purpose does not necessarily bring you happiness. That also is a huge, huge, huge misconception. The biggest problem that we have with this is that when you have people talking about this, you have certain psychologists or like wannabe dabbler motherfuckers like this dude who want to talk about happiness. What they mean with happiness is westernized conceptualization of good. Yeah? Good. Your purpose doesn't have to be something that gives you happy feelings for it to be fulfilling. The word they're thinking of is fulfillment. Fulfillment. Yes, that can mean happy. Often it does. Doesn't have to. Doesn't have to. You know, like it. There are people who are fighting to defend their fucking homelands in wars and shit. And their fulfillment comes from the fact that they're committed to the cause and they're doing what they have to do. That doesn't mean they're like, gosh, I'm just so happy going to work with my rifle so I can go get shot in the head by a sniper. You know, but for somebody to be like, well, you know, you could do that. Or, you know, you could take a ceramics class. Fuck you. Fuck off. It's so dumb. Yeah, or just go to certain clubs and get some orgiastic pleasure. That's right, Yemi. Yeah.
I think a huge amount of people are struggling with that balance.
So if I were to answer that using an endocrinological framework, I would say, in a sense, your question can be reframed as the difference between dopamine and serotonin, right? Yeah. The dopamine hits caters to my pleasure center. So the porn or the juicy burger is a one-time hit, but that's not
Lots of things give you a dopamine hit.
Existential bliss, right? That's not right. So, but when I sit down and I say, I am genuinely a happy person. I've got a great family. I love my children.
I like to piss off people by being transphobic on Twitter and being an insufferable, angry, pissed off, old, bitter man. Yeah, I'm sure you get a lot of happiness out of it.
I've got great friends. I can text Dave Rubin in a second. He's going to respond. You know, I read books all day. I am existentially happy. So I think it's really the difference between short-term hits of dopamine and long-term serotonin contentment. Which
yeah. See, look, this is an image of a happy man, okay? This man is so goddamn happy. You've never seen a happier person, a happier man who's super content and has no bitterness inside of him at all, right? Yeah, you know? This happy guy. What a happy guy. He knows happiness. Listen to this fucking guy when it comes to being happy, you know? Yeah, it makes sense. You fucking dumb shit. It's just grifter garbage. It's grifter self-help garbage.
By the way,
it's not even good grifter self-help garbage because it's not even compelling. This is like for the most milquetoast, boring-ass motherfucker out there who probably, you know, like a tax adjuster, who just doesn't know what to do with his life because he's going through a midlife crisis. And rather than do something that's actually going to be fun, he's going to buy a Gad Sad book and read it.
Something that we can also relate when you're choosing your partner, right? Many people will confuse, you know, lust and the hormones, the neuroanatomy of lust. That's going to fade. I don't care whether you're married to a Greek god Adonis or Beyonce. You know, there's the old expression, show me a...
This is him just telling on himself that he and his wife don't fuck anymore.
Gorgeous woman, and I'll show you a guy who's tired of having sex with her. Yeah. Well, that also speaks to the reality that there is a huge tedium that sets in if all you are pursuing is short-term pleasure. But on the other hand, for me to be able to go for a walk with my wife and, you know, have fun and joke around and so on, that's contentment. So that's, I think, the difference between the two.
Yeah, that's dumb. Contentment happens with age. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. Contentment comes down to age. And there is actually endocrine examples and proof of this. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. There are plenty of people who are old and they don't have that type of contentment, but you are neurologically more predisposed to find some degree of contentment with that. When you have somebody who does achieve a whole lot in their life, and they very young, they usually don't be like, well, I think I'll just stop now, you know? Like, why would they do, if that was the case, if you could, like, achieve big things and hit that contentment, I don't think we'd have people like Elon fucking Musk, okay? Just shitting up the place with his midlife divorced dad fucking problems right now, because he has no reason to have to need anything else. That it's just not how it. This easy answer shit is so fucking dumb. Now, it's not to say it can't happen. I'm sure there are some people that very early on they get like that goal and they're good, and this is what they want to do with the rest of their lives, committed to some cause, usually something that is very selfless. The rare people that I've actually seen like that are very selfless. They work for like different types of activism groups or like shelters, that kind of thing, and they're very happy. So yeah, this is fucking dumb.
Do you think a lot of people don't know what they want in a spouse, partly for what you're saying, that they're just looking for either the sexiest person or whatever, that they just have no idea what their actual, what the lanes are, what the barriers are? So, for example, did you see the story just in the last week or so about Jonah Hill sending these texts to his girlfriend? Did you happen to see this story? Yeah.
I did.
So he sent out what I thought were fairly well said.
Honestly, I didn't pay any attention to this. Whenever there's like relationship drama with celebrities, 99% of the time I'm like, I don't care, and I'm not going to pay any attention. It's none of my business.
Controlled statements about what his expectations in a relationship were. Don't party with your girlfriends. Don't send out naked pictures, like some basic stuff. And then he said, hey, if this doesn't work for you, I'm not the right guy. Now, of course, everyone calls him a misogynist, and all the press is going after him. But I thought, how impressive. There's someone actually saying what they want.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I didn't pay any attention to it. But if you do have boundaries and you have like limits, deal breakers, it's important to make those things early on in a relationship and to know them yourself. But it's even more important to actually stick to them. That's for everybody. The last thing you want is to get stuck into a cyclic system of abuse.
Yes. And not apologizing for it.
So two things I'll say. So you probably know the Delphic maxim, which is know thyself. So that speaks to your point, right? Because he knows what's going to be his trajectory of happiness. And he's saying, this is what I expect.
His boundaries were her posting pics in a bikini when she's a professional surfer. Surfer also didn't want her surfing with any men. That feels really controlling. And kind of stupid. I'd say that's incredibly insecure. But at the same time, if that's not something he can tolerate and he's like, look, I can't handle this. This is like the thing that I can't do. At least he's honest about it. And then if she's like, I don't fucking agree, then they shouldn't be together. I don't think it really necessarily has to be further than that. The boundaries weren't an issue before they started dating. Yeah, see, well, okay. Now, okay. Look, you're probably right. But for the sake of this, again, I don't know this fucking situation. I'll play the devil's advocate on this. A lot of people, when they hook up and they kind of like casually date, aren't really looking at it as a permanent, permanent situation. They're just having fun, You're not Mr. Right, you're Mr. Right now, or Mrs. Right now. I don't know. But yeah, like if that job, exactly, if that job of hers is going to make him uncomfortable, he should have established that was going to be a boundary, and they should not take their relationship more seriously. Do we know how long they were dating? Was it pretty? Because that'd be another thing too. If they were dating for a fucking while and then he just springs this shit, that's abusive. If it's pretty early on in the relationship, then it's like whatever, at least he's being honest, and they're not going to waste each other's time anymore. I don't know. Again, I don't know the fucking situation.
And that could only happen if I know myself. But if I'm going to put the more general point in a scientific framework,
oh boy,
there are two, when it comes to the evolutionary mechanisms of human mating.
Here we go.
There are two competing if you like, maxims. There is the
Oh, yeah. Like, I wouldn't date a cop. Just saying, that's not a boundary. That's a preference. I don't know. Don't let me distract the chat. Well, look, I wouldn't date a cop either. I'd fuck a cop. Sure. Hell yeah. Yeah. I'd totally fuck a cop. But I'd be like, let's be real about this. It's not going further than this. Nah. We wouldn't work out.
birds of a feather flock together, and there's the opposites attract. Well, it may interest your audience to know that the overwhelming consensus in the scientific literature for long-term happiness of a union is birds of a feather flock together.
Oh, interesting.
So opposites don't attract, Gadsat? Is that what it is? Is that really? Yeah.
I would have said it the other way. Wow.
No. I'll tell you where you might be right. If you said the excitement of a short-term dalliance, right? Let's go behind the shed and let's have some, dopamine hits, metaphorically speaking. Then if I am someone who is restrained, who's sexually shy, who's introverted, and you're the opposite, you bring me out of my shell, those things, those opposites might attract, and I might actually come away.
Yeah, he's talking about like a, dominant versus, submissive kind of thing. Sure, I guess. I guess so,
A lot more enriched by the fact that we're different. But for long-term union, if we share values, if we share life goals, if we share belief systems, it's astoundingly more likely that we'll be happy. So what Jonah Hill was doing was being a perfect Darwinian being and recognizing
perfect Darwinian. Why are all these people such fucking nerds? Oh my God.
that he wants someone who shares his values. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. I wonder if in some ways there's sort of like a big picture, little picture version of that, because I always find, like, if I was to look at me and David, for example, we really agree on all the big picture stuff of what we've wanted out of life and built things together. And that's why, thankfully it knock on wood, it's worked and it's growing and all that. But we're very different in another, we're opposites when it comes to attention to detail, organization, all of those things. So I guess there's probably a couple different layers of all of those things.
That's why.
Oh, so you're saying it's complicated now. See, it's simple when you need like the easy buzzword answer from Gad. But then if you like ask for further context, but actually it's very complex. Oh. Did you guys know that many things in life are simple at first, but are actually rather complex? Did you know that? Did you fucking know that? Thank God we have this fucking giga genius to tell us this. What the fuck?
When I was referring to birds of a feather flock together, I specifically said what those criteria are that we should match on.
See, fucking dipshit.
We're not trying to match on our eye color. We're not trying to match on the morphology of our faces.
Unless you're Matt Walsh, then you really need to match on the skin color. You guys hear about that recently? Matt Walsh talking about preserving the white race. Mask off.
It's life goals, it's life mindsets, it's belief systems. That's what we're talking about, birds of a feather flock together. Incidentally, on physicality, by the way, there is one trait that we also have assortative mating, and that's on height. So that if you look at naturally occurring couples, I'm talking now heterosexual couples, but we could easily extend it to same-sex couples. There was a study that was done with 720 actual couples.
Wow, 720 actual couples. Where'd they find them?
One out of 720, did it violate the assortative cue of male should be taller than female. So that's a very important cue.
Jesus Christ. God needs a 12-minute video to talk about this. Walsh only needs 14 words. Exactly, dude. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, my God. Dude, fuck your bullshit. Your evolutionary psychology, pickup culture, like Tate-like kind of trash. I fucking hate guru motherfuckers. Ghoulish motherfuckers, really. Look, it's not that fucking complicated. The things that we think make us happy are largely holographic because our entire existence is kind of holographic. What is going to make you happy or give you pleasure, aside from the fact that there are actual, measurable neurotransmitters that we can kind of, measure in the blood and things like that. But conceptually speaking, these things are subjective. They're subjective. If you find purpose, that's good. But that doesn't necessarily mean purpose means happiness. It doesn't. It doesn't. A very good example of this is there are many people out there who are like, my children are the most important thing in the world to me. And that's fair. There's something very noble about that being your central focus, and that is your purpose. And you put everything that you have into it. But if there's one thing that happiness research has shown over and over again, children don't make you happy. They don't. And when you think that they do, they don't. No, that's a lie. That is a lie. By every metric that we have to measure through sociology, through psychology, through neurology, children do not make you happy. They don't have to, because they give you purpose. They're not the same fucking thing. It's not the same goddamn fucking thing. And also, if you find that, you just don't really have a whole lot going on, you're feeling unfulfilled, go fuck. Go fuck a lot. And if you can't go fuck a lot, go get on a jet ski or a motorcycle, okay? Go fast. Go really, really fast. And if you can't do that, find a really good fucking video game, all right? Because the thing is, none of these are rules, but if you want to be happy or at least experience joy or pleasure, you can. We now live in a globalized world where you can find anything that you want, and I think you should. And don't listen to stupid pieces of shit like this. God damn. What an idiot.